As some of you know, I'm not wearing a hat right now, but you know, what I do want to talk about is the era of the Boston Celtics, and the reason is after last night game kind of inspired me to make this video. So I'm gonna try to be as quick as possible, not to take too long, but I have a lot to say anyway, so I'll do my best. So what I do want to talk about is the era of the Boston Celtics. So around the time I was a kid, post Larry Bird era, and after Reggie Lewis passed tragically, and then the Celtics did have D Brown. They did have some good players, but that was their rebuilding era. So around the 90s, the mid 90s, that was when the Celtics' dark years, their struggling years. So the Celtics were 95, 96. They only won like 17, 19 games. And then the late 90s, they became like a 30-plus win subpar team. And then Rick Pitino era was about the same until 2000 when, one, he decided to resign and leave the Celtics. And then he decided to resign and leave the Celtics, and he thought, we were going nowhere. He got frustrated with the mediocrity that they were facing. So the Celtics did have Greg Minor, Danny Fortson. They got Tony Battie. They traded him for Travis Knight, Kenny Anderson, and then the young Paul Pierce before he was towards reaching his prime because he was in his early 20s, so he was still maturing. And then you have Antoine Walker, of course, definitely. I mean, you have Vitaly Potemkin, which I'm sure they continue building, but I wish they didn't trade him for Vin Baker, because Vin Baker was horrendous. Like, he was out of shape, he got suspended, and then that was like in the 2000s. And the Celtics played well. Vin Baker did improve over time, so I was a little confused why they released him. And then the Knicks got him, but he was still okay though. Vin Baker was a good player. Now he's a coach, so now he's coaching. But Vin Baker he got better, so that was a little puzzling. But they should have released him last year. But I'm good he recovered. I'm sure it was a lot of work too because he did have alcohol problems and they suspended him. But other than that, I digress. They did have Vitaly Potemkin, good rebounder, and they did have some sort of a good team, but they didn't become a playoff contending team, not let alone, I don't know about championship contending, but playoff contending team until 2001, 2002. 2002 Celtics was a good team. They did overcame some odds. They did beat the 76ers, who really took it to them. And then they faced the Pistons, which was their tough competition. And then the Wall was the New Jersey Nets. So I don't know. I look back at that 2001-2002 playoff season because I got into the NBA at the end of the season and then the playoffs, and I was in fourth grade. So I did love watching the game. It was great. It was fun watching the competition, especially Jerry Stackhouse made a shot that didn't count that could have cost the Celtics a series. And then the Nets was like their wall, but they did took it to them, getting 2 wins, and then the Nets, a team with home court advantage, was like it looked like they were gonna get blown out on the home court. But with the Celtics comeback, like my brother always taught me to have faith, but it was like, man, that's a great underdog story for the Celtics because they were a team they didn't have a lot of high expectations, they didn't expect a lot out of them, but they still managed to hang tough. And yeah, the NBA was different because it was the pre-LeBron James era, before LeBron James stepped into the team, and that was before the prime that he's in right now. So pre-prime LeBron James, because he was a very young guy, even in the mid-2000s, and with the Big Three era too. But I know this is because the Celtics did have that jersey with the Nets, but Game 6, I think the Celtics were knocked out by New Jersey Nets, and the Nets moved on to face the Lakers. And then with Keith Van Horn kicking it out and then making that 3 to seal the game, and then the Celtics were struggling with shooting ever since then, and then Nets made another score to make it 88-96. I'm like, man, that was one of the toughest things to have. It was hard to believe. Yeah. Oh man, it was hard to believe because it was a great game. It was a good game. There were still close games. There were no blowouts whatsoever, which, just like it is now. Now I'm so devastated that the blowout happened. I still have faith in the Celtics. I'm sure the Celtics come back, but let's just admit it that the Celtics are rebuilding. They're not there yet, but they could have been doing a lot better. And then I don't know. Maybe the Wizards. Everybody was going for the Wizards to face the Cavs because the Celtics aren't there yet. But everybody was pulling for the Wizards to face the Cavs because it looked like great exciting. It would be great exciting. Kyrie against John Wall, Bradley Beal against J.R. Smith, LeBron against Otto Porter Jr., and then Marcus Morris against Tristan Thompson. I think he's the center, and then the power forward must be yeah, I can't remember who the power forward is. I just know Tristan Thompson's the front court, definitely. So, I mean, you have Andrew Bogut on the Cavs, but he's hurt right now, so I can remember the squad back in the early 2000s. I can't remember the squad now, but I noticed that, yeah, the Celtics' journey it looks like it's coming to an abrupt halt because after Isaiah Thomas lost his sister, I thought this would be a great story to tell why Isaiah Thomas is playing, but he did got hurt in the hip, and that kind of hurt the team because it looks like he's the leader of the team practically, which was a bit hard to believe. But if he could be at that LeBron level, because Jason Kidd in 2002, like he actually led the team as a point guard, and then you have players like Richard Jefferson, Kenyon Martin, Todd McCullough, and that was before they had Dikembe Mutombo. The Nets became a better team. And then, but, you could tell, like, the competition was so different. Like, the records that they had in the playoffs were meaningful. And even though the Kings were the best team in the league, but, something was wrong. The refereeing was kind of the issue for the Lakers and Kings game. But you could tell, like, the Western Conference Finals and the Eastern Conference Finals both have similar competition. Like, the wins that they have were more significant. It wasn't just, it wasn't so predictable, basically. I mean, people thought the Kings were going to take it, and then maybe the Lakers were going to get there, but I thought the Lakers were going to go to the finals, especially Phil Jackson, who coached the Bulls and led to success. I was hoping Phil Jackson with the Lakers, they have the same success with them when he decided to take the job as coach after Del Harris left, because he used to be the coach for the Lakers before Phil Jackson. And they fired him probably because they were frustrated with the shortcomings they have, and then Phil Jackson managed to fulfill those shortcomings. So, like I said, like I'm talking about this now because like the playoffs then, back in the mid 2000s and early 2000s, like it's mostly about the Celtics journey, and I keep going on a tangent, but the Celtics journey was very great, even though they were an underdog team, but the competition level was so different. And it wasn't as predictable either. Like, those upsets that were happening, like the Celtics upsetting the Pistons, and then surviving the Sixers, and then almost taking it to the Nets, you could tell, like, there was a lot of fight in them. And with Jim O'Brien coaching the team, even though I don't know if he won championships or whatnot, but, with Walter McCartney, I love Walter, and it's like, Paul Pierce, even though Pierce was the player, Antoine Walker was a good player too, even though he wasn't a star. Like, when they traded Antoine Walker, I thought it was like, they're giving up a star for Rayful Friends, even though they're looking for a bigger man. Like, what about Tony Batiste, even though he was too small, but he was a good player too. Like, they were a well-built team. Like, the NBA was so different then because it wasn't like hyped around just 3 or 4 players, and then it's like, the playoffs, they played with intensity. Like, even Reggie Miller too. Like, I can see now it's so different. Like, the Celtics are probably putting up a fight, but it's like, you can see, like, the Cavaliers, LeBron James, they're on a different level. And it's like, the excitement is not there whatsoever. And the Celtics, now it's like people are saying they have no chance whatsoever to beat the Cavaliers. Because now they're going to be on the Cavs' home court. And if they couldn't get it done at home, then it's like, I'm thinking they could get a win. I'm just hoping that, I'm just a little upset about it now because it's like, it's too predictable. It's like, the NBA Finals is going to be the only thing exciting, and it's like, the Celtics aren't going to be a part of it. I mean, 2002, the Celtics were going to be a part of it, but, yeah, the NBA Finals was disappointing, but the playoffs were more exciting than the NBA Finals. And then if you flash forward to when the Celtics were in the Finals, the Celtics and Lakers were exciting, but they had odds of their own to overcome. They had to overcome those obstacles. But with the Cavs and the Warriors, there were no obstacles for them to overcome whatsoever. That's the point. And then the Celtics then, even in 2010 when they upset the Cavaliers, it was a young LeBron-led team. Like, he was a young player leading a team. So with him joining Miami, it kind of continued to rejuvenate him and build him up to be a more stronger character. So that's what I gotta say to that. So my video is a bit too long, and I know I have a lot to say, but this is mostly about the Boston Celtics. So yeah, I'll just leave it to that. So I was just talking about the Celtics then to the Celtics now, and I did forgot to bring up when the Celtics got swept by the Nets the following year after getting knocked out of the conference finals, because that was a struggling year, but they still made the playoffs. So they were still a strong team, even though they had their struggles. And then the year after, they managed to go to the playoffs below 500 and got swept by the stronger, rejuvenated Indiana Pacers with the newly coached Rick Carlisle after it fires Isaiah Thomas. And then they did got knocked out by them again, even though they had Peyton, Walker, and Pierce at 3 stars. But they weren't the Garnett, Allen, Pierce 3 stars. And then, yeah, that was like their journey then. But I could talk more about that. I feel like my video was a bit too long, but if you got whoever watched it, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace out.